Welcome to Healing in Progress. On this episode of the Healing in Progress podcast, I have community midwife, international board certified lactation consultant, author, mother, teacher, mentor. Am I forgetting anything?
Advocate.
And advocate. Birth rights advocate.
That's right. Birth rights, reproductive justice.
Reproductive justice. Okay. Jolena Walker is in the house.
Hello.
And Jolena is someone that I have long admired, someone I genuinely enjoy talking to whenever I see in community, a supporter of Queendom Cultivation and of me, and someone I've just truly seen give back more than I've seen even give to herself. So I wanted to have Miss Jolena on the podcast to talk about what healing has looked like for her through all of these titles, through all of these transitions in your life, and what healing looks like as a community and how we can better support birth workers and how as birth workers we can better support ourselves. So thank you for being here, Jolena.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
It's great to have you. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because as a person who has been a birth worker, I like to call myself a retired doula because I did, when I opened the store, I retired out of birth work. Yeah. But that's because I had to. I physically, emotionally, spiritually could not balance the weight that was required of birth work at the time, trying to balance the weight of what was required of entrepreneurship. But my love for the work has never changed.
We see that.
The importance of the work in our community especially still remains close to my heart. And being able to hold space for birth workers to heal and actually have a better quality of life than I did when I was fully practicing into it is really important to me.
Absolutely.
So thank you for the work that you do in the community. Tell us more about what you do.
All right. So my name is Jolena Walker, and I am all the things that Jazmine said. My company is called the Birth Collaborative, and the Birth Collaborative is a training organization. It's a training organization that focuses on reproductive justice and birth justice, and training Black and brown birth workers, because my goal is to create a large net of community care. So within that net of community care, I'm not going to catch everybody who wants to be a doula. I might catch somebody who wants to be a nurse one day, or a chef one day, or an author one day, but I'm going to instill in them reproductive justice and birth justice pillars so that they can see our birthing people in community and find ways to help care not only for that birthing person but their family. And in instilling birth justice and reproductive justice and that level that we have us, I also want them to see themselves in their full capacity to benefit their own lives, their own community, like that little community within their own four walls, right? So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on this workforce pipeline. I'm working to bring birth back to community, bring that knowledge back to community, because we've been too far separated from the birth and pregnancy process. We've been too far separated from postpartum care and what that looks like. We've been told that somebody else who's been in school for 12 years knows us and our community and our needs better than we, and so we call them for help, and help doesn't come. Help is in community, right? Yeah. And so by me going this route and saying, it's time to train doulas, it's time to train lactation consultants, it's time to train, but we're training out in community. We're not training behind the four walls of the medical establishment. Right. And that's what was healing for me, because I struggled in all of those systems for what care should look like. So when I was in school for my master's degree,
I forgot that one.
I'm just playing. When I was in school and we were studying maternal child health systems, we were studying the systems that impact the dyad. We were studying all of these things, and yet we were being constantly harmed within the academic system. And I went to this particular master's program because I was being harmed in my undergrad in academia. I was being harmed on the floors of hospitals supporting my clients, right? Like all of this harm was happening in all these different spaces. And I went there and I was like, this has to stop. There has to be a way that we can care for ourselves and each other. And the truth that I found is that none of these systems are built for care. None of them. And so as I was going through my master's degree program, I actually stopped. It was an 18-month program. It wasn't like a 4-year program or anything like that. It was 18 months. I stopped at 9 months and I was like, wait, this doesn't work. I need to be able to care for myself right now. And even though this degree track really purported to show that level of care, and it's doula work and it's care work, and we were taught by all these beautiful midwives, right? But the system itself didn't care. The system had to have the grades in on time. The system had to have, X, Y, and Z check mark off the box. And so in each class and each interaction, I was struggling to be seen in a caring way. So I was like, well, how can I approach this? How can I voice my needs and have those needs met? Now, how can I voice my needs? And then the two of us come together and have, a conversation about what can be done, what can't be done, where's that compromise? Because I do believe understanding and learning compromise can be part of it to the point where it's not harmful. So as I go through all of these different worlds, I call myself a midwife in transition all the time because life is nothing if it's not a transition, right? Shout out to Octavia Butler, change happens. It's constant.
Yeah.
And when I look at these systems and I say, okay, well, how can I care for myself better? How can I care for my community better? How can I care for myself? How can I care for my community? And education is one of those things, but a deep love and understanding that we are all going through a whole lot of something is part of that care as well. So, I don't quite know where I was going with that.
No, it all ties together. Birth work. So it sounds like, going back to what you were saying with the work you do about birth rights, training chefs, training authors, training people who aren't directly connected to birth work. It sounds like birth advocacy and birth rights kind of transpires and can fit into any area or industry.
Absolutely.
Because it's that important.
It has to be that important because if we are not instilling care into our birthing people and we don't show and protect that space and that journey, then that child is born into that lack of care and that absence of care because that parent is not being held and supported and shown love. It's not always just love. It can also just be respect. No, she said just. It can be respect. It should be respect. And accountability is also part of that as well. So when I think of, okay, well, I was in a group of entrepreneurs and they were tech guys and they're talking about office buildings and all cybersecurity and all of these things. And I'm like, wow, you're having a whole building. Where's the daycare going to be? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're planning to build out this whole building. Is there going to be childcare offered to all of the people who you're planning to have come and work there? And I go, well, we haven't thought about that. I'm like, you're going to have parents. You're going to have people who are just had babies who need to come back to work and maybe don't want to leave their baby all day or put them in a childcare facility far away. So if you're not thinking about childcare, you're not actually thinking about the people you're serving and hope to serve in this facility. Is there really thinking about those little tiny things?
Yeah.
How much leave do you give your pregnant families, both partners? How much leave are you building that in? because it really does suck to come back to work after 3 weeks. And people are aghast. 3 weeks. Some people don't even get 3 weeks. We don't have paid leave.
Right.
We don't have it here. So people have to eat, right? People have to go back to work to keep a roof over their head. So when you're thinking about these things, how do you embed those into your practice? And for me, when I move in spaces around anything, right? It really is. So this is your business. Oh, okay. How are you thinking about pregnant people? How are you supporting them if they choose to feed their baby their own breast milk, right? How do you support your lactating clients? How do you support your lactating employees? What are you doing to care for them? Mm-hmm. How are you caring for them? Because this comes from me being in all these spaces of constantly negotiating care, and having that heart for it.
Yeah.
I come from a long line of caregivers and people who move in community for community. So I'm going to tell you this really brief story about my grandmother Walker, Dorothy Doreen. Apparently, my grandfather was a gambler, and a good one at that. Right? He could play cards, and he would, take all these people's money. And so when he would come in through the back door of their house, she would take half of his winnings, and the mothers would be at the front door, and she would go up and give these women back food money because their husbands, their men, they would go and gamble all their money away. And then these women didn't have money to feed their babies.
Wow.
So my grandmother, man's coming in the back. Yeah.
Half pay up.
Come on, give up. And she would go to the front and she would pay these mothers back some of their money so that they could get food for their people, right? For their kids.
Because the men were gambling away the food money.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So she
Bless
showed,
her.
I know, she showed this really kind of deep care for the women in her community and for the children in her community. And that I just heard that story a couple of weeks ago. And it really kind of sat with me in this kind of beautiful place because my mother was an activist as well. And she started the first HIV/AIDS task force in the town that I grew up in. Like, she was a social worker. This is what she did her whole life.
Wow.
And so I come from that lineage of you care for people by showing up for them. You care by actually giving and pouring in. But what I never saw with my mother was her pouring into herself, unless it was Sunday and football was on. So then don't talk. That was her. Don't talk about actually football or basketball. Okay. My mom was super into sports, and how she poured into herself was like, "This is my time. This is my time." So when I think about, how this is literally in my DNA, this is ingrained in me that we care for each other, we show up for each other. Because I saw this from the women in my family.
Yeah.
And so when I moved far away from my family, I haven't lived in the same town or space as my family since I was a teenager.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ohio. So okay. I grew up in a little town called Cedarville, Ohio. And then we moved to Springfield, Ohio, which is a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then we moved to Chillicothe, Ohio, which is a lot bigger. Not as big as Columbus, but
I've never heard of any of
that's like right. They're all
very small.
Like, I was riding my bike around all of these places all the time, wow. Right? So those are these communities that I grew up in, and how care was just, standardized. Mm-hmm. Care is standardized in community. And so now when I am out tabling, when I'm out talking to older family members, and I'm talking about babies, and I'm talking about lactation, and all the aunties and moms like, oh no, that's not for me. You don't talk to me. That's not for me anymore. And I'm like, oh no, but you know somebody. Yeah. Because we hold the standard. We hold our family. We hold care. That's nothing that anybody else can do. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be your aunties. It's going to be your big cousin. We hold care. So come on over here, Grandma. Come on. Let's talk about this. Tell me how you soothed a crying baby when you were, a new mama, or what you learned from your grandmama. Like, tell me these things, because we are not talking about it anymore. Mm-hmm. Again, we have disengaged care and shipped it off to medical degrees and websites and all of these places, which can be very useful, but we don't embed it within our own communities. And for me, that's so necessary and important. I want you to be able to point to your midwife in your community, right? I want you to see your doula out at a protest, at a meeting with the governor.
Yep.
All right. I need you to know that you are covered.
Right.
And that for me is healing.
Yeah.
We were talking before about me being in spaces where I wasn't covered. I wasn't heard. And that was my entire professional learning, right? As a midwife, it was like all of this. And then in 2017, I think, I went on it was called the Infant Mortality Awareness Tour with Mama Hakima. Shout out to Mama Hakima with Uzazi Village in Missouri. She put up a post on Facebook and she's like, hey, I'm doing this infant mortality. She'd been doing a walk in Kansas City. And so she was taking it on the road. She was taking it on a tour. And I'm like, I'll go. Okay, I'll do it. This sounds fun. Let's go.
Yeah.
It was literally one of the most enriching experiences that I've ever had. We were out for about 10 days and we went through Texas, and then we were in New Orleans, and we were working with all of these Black birth workers. She was interviewing Black midwives, Black doulas, Black doctors, all of these folks to try to raise awareness for the Black infant mortality crisis. And so I was there, and I was literally a note taker, right? I was a note taker. I was bearing witness to this conversation that I had never been able to have. And I met so many beautiful birth workers. I met so many student midwives and just beautiful, beautiful souls who have been called to this work, right? And it was so healing for me. It was such an exciting time. And each stop along the way showed different levels of care. So the first stop that we had was in Houston, and this was right, there was a huge hurricane coming through, and Houston got flooded.
In 2017?
2017, 2018, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember.
I believe it.
I'll find it. So anyway, we were like moving ahead of this storm. So we're moving ahead of this storm. So we were in Houston, and we were it was a house. It was called the Birthplace, and that was the first time I'd been in the space of a Black midwife, right? And it was so relaxing. I mean, it was just like, oh, we Black, right? Like, he was like, oh, the colors were rich, the rooms were warm, there are Black baby dolls, not at the bottom of the pile,
right,
or dirty and uncared for in the pile, whatever. It was just like a beautiful, it was a beautiful space. And she was a midwife who had like 4 midwifery students, and they were all Black women. And we were talking about that journey of a midwifery student and the demands of being a Black woman in a predominantly white space, which home birth midwifery is, certified professional midwives are. And it was really one of those moments where she was speaking aloud everything that I'd felt through my apprenticeships, through the work and birth work that I'd had at that point. And it was an amazing moment to be kind of like, oh, yeah, we out here. We're out here. And I can seek this help in other places and other spaces. And just being in community and having somebody reflect back to me, like, yeah, of course you're not alone.
Right.
Like, we're here. Call anytime. Come through anytime. And in that place and space, we stayed in the birth center. So we stayed in one of the rooms in the birth center, right? And she was amazing. And we went out to, lunch with our family. And then we moved on to New Orleans, which was a Rose conference. Rose is Reaching Our Sisters Everywhere. It's a lactation conference.
Oh, okay.
And they had it in New Orleans. First time I ever had shrimp and grits, I was hooked. I went back like 4 times. Yeah. The food in New Orleans is so good. It's like unmatched. We were just in this kind of random restaurant off the way.
Yep.
Unmatched. Had Brussels sprouts that I loved for the first time. Brussels sprouts. Now I love Brussels sprouts.
They know how to cook
Man.
down there.
Man.
Yep.
So it was a different kind of love. There was the food love that was
Yep.
there. It was a slow, easy kind of pace. And at the end of the conference, they had a procession with the I don't know what they're called, but the big band comes through with all the horns and the drums.
Oh, the second line.
Yeah, the second line. Thank
Yep.
you. And they had a big procession, and it was so joyous, right? It was just unmatched joy and just energy. And I had never felt that in any other conference at any other place in time, ever, ever, ever. And it was that kind of like this space is our space. Claimed, owned, revisited, revived, and it really ignited in me this like, okay, let's go back and build something. So we were on that tour. We met lots of great people, came back into town and called the Black professionals that I knew were already working here. I called Samaje Bruce, Aisha Fanning. I called all of these Black birth workers, Black lactation folks, and said, we got to build something here. We got to do this. This is where we start. We are where we start. Mm-hmm. And that was really a lovely confluence of us coming together for us. We actually met at a coffee shop. It's called the Chess House, I believe. It was it was right on Lake Mead near Tenaya, and it was owned by a Black woman who had opened her own coffee shop, and she had art in there, and she had live bands coming in.
Oh, wow.
And it was really a lovely space.
They closed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they did. About a year after our first meeting there, they closed. Interestingly enough, though, when we were there, it was our very first full meeting. And we were sitting there, and there are a couple of elders who were kind of sitting in the room. We were just at a big open table, and there were some elders there listening to us, and then they shared their stories with us.
That's
like
beautiful.
They really did. They honored us with this. This is how this happened to us, right? This is what we were doing when our kids were growing up. And one of those elders is the mother of one of my mentors. I didn't know that later. I didn't know that until much later. But she was the mother of one of my mentors, and it just was one of these moments where we turned around and we were in the same room. She's like, I remember you. You were talking at the Chess House coffee shop with all those ladies. And I'm like, right. And she's the mother of one of my mentors. And this is one of those moments where, we cared for each other. We saw each other. We made this, truly meaningful connection. And so, and it expanded into connection across, so my mentor's in policy space, right? Mm-hmm. And so it expanded into that space. I'm like, oh gosh, we really do. When we get together, we sit down and we talk and we build and we think and strategize. It can be healing, and it can be expansive. I think is the word that comes to mind. So
I absolutely love when we're out in public and we overhear people talking about stuff we resonate with and we say something.
Yes.
I really appreciate that's how we build community with strangers. Mm-hmm. That's how strangers become friends. It's like, I didn't even know. Yeah. I didn't know you was listening. Mm-hmm. But who knew that the person that would be listening would be the person that could potentially change my life? All you gotta do is say, I resonate with what you were saying. Not that I'm trying to be nosy or anything, but we're in a public space. That's always been something I really enjoyed, is being tapped and told, y'all are dope. Everything that you got going on is amazing. Right. And being able to meet people that way, I think, is really cool. Absolutely. But also having the courage to step outside of your community and meet with someone who you didn't necessarily know and travel around the country with them to be able to receive all of this that you can bring back to your community is so powerful. Yes. Having the courage to step outside of your comfort zone is step number one to making that happen. Mm-hmm. And you made that happen, because if you see a need or a scarcity in your community or something, but there are folks that are doing it, that are doing the work, that are doing something that's that close to you, why reinvent the wheel and try and do it and start it on your own when you can join forces with the people that are already doing the work and create something even that much more expansive?
I had decided at the point that I went out on this, I had decided that I was leaving midwifery, right? I had, the apprenticeships were over. I just had my last baby.
So you thought?
Yes. And I had struggled so hard with the model of midwifery that is currently like out of hospital practices. I'd struggled with it. And so when I went out on this tour, it was really just like I was seeking community because birth work will always remain a part of me and who I am. But I was like, okay, let me just lean back into lactation. Let me lean back into, just kind of being in community again, because I'd also tapped out of community after my last baby and I'd gone through a divorce. Like there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. My mom died. Like it was a lot going on. So I had just kind of stepped back, tapped out. And this really brought me back in to be like, there is a community out here. I just need to get out of my comfort zone. I'm also really shy. I know it never really feels like that on interviews when I'm talking to people, but I am mad shy. Like,
I was surprised you said that you went on this world tour.
It was like 4 states, but thank you for the world.
Still, that's a big deal
It
for
is.
someone who is as introverted as yourself.
Yes, I am, and in those spaces to be able to be shy, and that's okay. To be quiet and introverted, and that's okay. And to pour into these spaces in a way that I was like, I have a suggestion, and people are like, yes, and I'm like, oh, I haven't. Oh, okay, that was okay. That affirmation.
Funny what the voice does when you use it.
Yeah, right. That part. So it was really being a shy person, being one who kind of sits in rooms, and I'm an observer. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch. But it really emboldened me. It emboldened me to be like, nobody's coming, girl. Step the fuck up, right? Nobody's coming. So what you had been seeking through all these years of your education and all of these years of like working to achieve this, I'm like, I'm going to be able to join somebody who's going to do this thing. I'm like, no, it's you.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And that's what being in all those Black spaces said to me. Like, you have to do it. What are you waiting for? It's got to be you. So, yeah. And I struggle with that all the time. I still struggle with it. I still struggle with step up, step out, push out,
The
push out.
responsibility.
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility there when it is you. But thankfully you've built community.
Yeah.
To support with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also interrupt people all the time. So.
When you started all of this, though, this was 2017, 2018. There weren't very many Black birth workers in Vegas at all.
True.
I think I came into the birth work scene here in 2020, and I knew you. I knew of you. I think at the time, I don't even think I actually knew you. I was working with Well-Rounded Mama. I didn't know really any other Black birth workers at the time. But then it felt like after 2022, I think.
Really?
It exploded. By that time, I was already burnt out. I was tapped out. I was like, I had actually quit. I was like, my last birth was traumatic. So I actually stepped back out of the work and then got really deep into queendom and not really keeping up with what was happening in the landscape outside until I saw Facebook groups popping up for Black birth workers and birth workers of color and all these people being added to the group. I'm like, there's an emergence.
Yeah.
We are here.
It really was.
We landed here.
It was an amazing tipping point, I would think.
What do you think created that?
I'm going to say what created it was the movement that we saw, the Black Lives Movement that we saw emerging from the 20-teens, right? And in that 20-teens, when as liberation work and Black folks just within themselves really kind of were snatching those narratives back, right? Because we'd gone my mother's generation in that civil rights era, we gone through all these struggles and achieving a level of stasis. I'm not even going to say equality. I'm not going to say liberty. I'm not going to say peace. I'm not going to say any of those things. I'm going to say stasis, right? And then a generation of communities coming together in Black center spaces. So a lot of care providers who we lost in the early 80s, at least within the midwifery space. We lost the generation of granny midwives, right? Those midwives who were teaching their daughters, their nieces, their neighbors this tradition and passing down oral knowledge, and that wisdom kind of dissipated into the academic standard through the 80s and the 90s when it comes to birth work. But there were still pockets of folks working, but we were very much siloed, right, apart from each other in small communities. And so when the movement for Black Lives started really kind of coming online, it activated a new generation of liberatory-minded folks. And that's always going to include birth workers. It's always going to include people who want to work with mamas and babies, right? So there were midwives in the Panther Party, right? There's always a midwife somewhere nearby, right? But because that medical model had pushed all of that knowledge out of communities, right? The folks who had stayed in practice, who stayed in that space, started to stand up and reclaim that knowledge. They started to be like, you know what? Reproductive justice was framed by Black women. Reproductive rights, queer rights, birth rights, all of those things, we have a deep root in. We've always been tapped in. It's always been us. And then that resurgence with the movement for Black Lives Matter, midwives are like, as a matter of fact, yes, Black Lives Matter, right? Black birthing people matter, Black babies matter. And that swing, accompanied by overwhelming research, which is also now at that point really being utilized and pulled through community birth, pulled through academic objections, pulled through hospital denial. All of that was starting to really kind of coalesce and come through. And then we have this whole new generation of birthing people, right? They grew up on the Black Lives Matter movement. They grew up in this like, no, justice now. Whereas I think a lot of my generation was assimilate now, be okay now, get that good job now, stay in corporate now, do that. This new generation was just like, you know what? I'm not going to accept that. I did not like my experience. I'm not going to accept that. I did not like how my sister was treated. I'm not going to accept that. Oh, right. Look at this data. We are dying at 3 to 4 times the rate of white people, of white mothers and birthing people. Like, I'm not going to accept that. The violence for trans birthing people, I'm not going to accept that. So I think a lot of what happened to bring this new generation of birthing people and birth care workers together was the realization that legitimately the system never cared for us. Right? Legitimate. It never did. And even though our mama said it and our grandmama said it and our daddies taught us to what to do, when and how, it was the moment like, it's us. We have to do this. Topple that onto with a generation of people who grew up online, right? We grew up online. Social media, Snapchat's fairly new, but I don't know, YouTube, like all the things, internet, Vines, Vines, all the things. A group, I'm going to keep hitting you. I'm so sorry. All of this, and it created a new movement within birth work. It created a new capacity and new connections. So me alone in Las Vegas in 2008, wondering why my preceptor said Black women can't, she's not going to get that baby on there because her areola is so big. I'm like, that's not truth, right? That's not real. Like, And I was like, now we have a group of activist parents. Yeah, and that's good. Activist parent, activate for your child, please. Right? Saying, yeah, no, we're not accepting that. And you can connect with people in those Black hubs like Atlanta, like Philly, like Baltimore, right? Where they actually have created systems to surround and protect each other and advocate for each other and put out that information to a broader audience. I think when we hit COVID and we hit 2020, all of that is part of how we got to a tipping point where there can now be a birth workers of color, Facebook group with 40 people in it.
Yeah.
Now it's probably up over 100 at this point. Like that happened, but it wasn't just because of that moment. It was because of the history building up to that moment and what this generation of birth workers lived through, experienced in culture, that made them say, yeah, no, it is us. We are doing this. And so that's what I think it was.
I know that for me, it was the statistics. It was the research. Once I knew that, I said, well, I have to do something about this. Like, you're telling me that if a person has a doula, they're likely to have a better birthing experience. They're less likely to experience a C-section. They're less likely to have postpartum depression. They're less likely to have all of these things just by having a birth worker present during their birth. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up. And at the same time, I feel like with that, it's really important for us birth workers to make sure that we understand our capacity when we are holding space. Because as especially birth workers of color, we see the statistics. We understand that there is a need. What we don't understand at the time we sign up is that we can't save everybody.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
Yeah. And it's not our job to save everybody.
Yeah.
We are one person in a system.
Yeah.
Right? But what we can do, as you said, hold space. And that's one of those lessons that sometimes are hard for birth workers. It's like you're pouring in, and your client goes, yeah, nah, I'm going to.
You give me that.
I'm going to do that other thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm doing all that other things. You're like, okay, yeah. You know the risks. You know the benefits. It is always your choice. But the system is prolific, right? It is dynamic. And when faced with all these challenges, the challenge might be, let's get out of this hospital, right? That might be the overarching goal. It's too much. It's too big. It is so easy to go along. And when you as a professional are grounded in the statistics, right? When you're grounded in, we know that certain things can make a difference, can improve outcomes, can improve your life moving forward. We want that best for that client. And just like with anybody else, what we see as that best might be pushing back up against a system that they're not ready to push back against. Or it might very much be like, yeah, that's what I wanted before the pain hit. Yeah. That pain is here now. I wasn't expecting that. Maybe for the next baby. I will be able to, but for this one, not today. Not today. So it is so, that's another reason why protecting our own peace is so important. Protecting our own sense of worth just as a human being and not on the outcomes of anything that anybody does that we are connected to, right? Yeah. And as a mother, I know that that's a very real thing, right? It's like, okay, sidebar. It's like I was telling her, it's like, you got to put some lotion on those legs. Why do I put lotion on my legs? Why can't I just be? Why can't I'm like, I was like, what? And I was like, it's literally just lotion. And she's like, why is how the world sees me? Why is that so important? I'm like, girl, if you don't go get some lotion, she want the choice to be ashy. And I'm like, you can make that choice, and I'm going to explain to you why culturally, I want you to put lotion on your legs. So So like she can make that choice,
Yeah.
and so my ex is white, so she is biracial, and so her hair gets big, like big, big, and I'm like, oh, like little cute little braids and ponytails and little things, and she's just like big wild hair, like mane of hair. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna be this. I love this for you. I love this for you because you are owning this. And I say, like, these are your choices. These are your options. You have the choice to do all of these things. And you also, people might look at you with a little side eye. I'm going to explain why that's happening. So now you can understand it.
Yeah.
But it is your choice. Be you, be who you want to be. And for our clients, when they look and they say, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And we've done the work. We've gone for the walk. We've gotten in the water. We've done a million hip squeezes until my hands, are numb. I can't do it anymore.
Hurts.
And they look at you and they say, I just can't. And I'm sorry. I'm like, this is not my birth. This is your birth. I need you to be okay with your choices.
Yeah.
Are you okay with this choice? That's all I need from you. I love a contented mama. Like you get this, and then she's just like, woo, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And then we talk after the birth, and she might say, oh, I wish I could have gone a little longer. I could have been like, okay, well, you know that for next time. This is a lesson. She's like, next time.
Right. Every time.
Okay, sorry.
Next time.
Sorry. We'll talk about that week 6. We don't have to talk about that at week 2. We don't have to do that here. But it really is a matter of presenting all the choices, presenting it to this community and say, here is where we are. And not just giving this is where we are right now, but here's the historical context of where we are right now. Here's the actual economic impact of where we are right now. Yeah. Here is the social impact of where we are right now. Now, all of these choices are open to you. Make them with pride and confidence in what you want. If this is what you want, I am standing right here with you. I am walking beside my daughter out in the streets, ashy. And wild-haired. Like she is just like she is feeling herself, right? Yeah. She is loving herself. And I'm like, okay, I'm walking beside you. I'm here with you, right? So
we love that for her.
Yeah, indeed, we do. And then but that was a lesson that I had to learn.
Yeah.
And who actually taught it to me was one of my other daughters. So between my older 2 daughters and my youngest, there's a big age gap. There's 10 years between my middle and my youngest.
Oh, wow.
And so it was my middle daughter who's just like, so what if she wants to go out with her hair like that? That's her hair. It's her body. And I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right.
She pulled a you on
She
you.
really did. Like, oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. Okay. Yeah. My daughters read me all the time. They're just like,
you raised them to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with love, with gentleness, sometimes with gentleness, but always real. Always real. And it's like, okay, thank you for calling me in. I appreciate that. Yep. But that is advocating for that person's choice is what I can do. Standing in the space and holding that space for them to make whatever choice that they need to make, right? My job is to make sure you're well informed. My job is to make sure that you feel loved and held in this moment so that you can feel safe enough to make that choice. My job is to stand in that discomfort with wherever this goes, or stand in the joy and shine that light back with you, right? I need that for birthing people. One of my sayings is if you don't know what the choices are, you don't have a choice.
Right.
So here are all the choices. I'm going to be here. I'm going to stand here with you. Make your informed decision. And then we can work through this journey of what comes next. As long as you feel good about it. All right, mama. I love a satisfied mama. I love a mama at peace with whatever choice that she's made. I get to go home and rub my feet together under my blankets, right? I get to have that. And when I say I want to leave them feeling like they made their choice, that's actually what I want. I'm not protecting anybody from their choices. I'm also not going to protect you from the consequences of those choices. But I can stand with you in love. I can stand with you in community, and not say I told you so, but I can do that. I can do that, right? But in the truth is that everybody's going to make those choices. And when we come full circle back to, like, I want you to stand in this space because your baby's going to need you to make choices along the way too. And I need you to know how to gather information. I need you to know how to sit with, this is going to go against systems. This is going to go against my family. But me right here in my core, is it going to go against me? Me right here, how am I going to sit with this in 2 days, in 20 years, in 5 years? I need you to feel, you may not feel great about it, but I need you to feel confident that you made an informed choice. You made the choice. Okay, how's your heart feeling? How's your gut feeling? How's your head feeling? Okay, let's go. So.
What do you say to the people who are thinking about birth work or are involved currently in offering birth work? What do you say to them to offer them support along their journey? What lessons do you have that you think could support them where they are?
I get a lot of calls from people at different places in their journey. So in the early, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about becoming a doula, or I'm thinking about becoming a lactation consultant. I ask them about what brought them here, all right? Oh, tell me more. Why birth work? How did you get here? What called you to this space? What fuels you? What fills you, right? And depending on how they are coming at this, because sometimes it is a spiritual calling, and sometimes it's a numbers calling, right? That motivates spirit, because staying up for 24 hours straight has to be passion.
It really,
otherwise you're gonna cut that shit short pretty quick, right?
Yeah, being on call.
Yeah, that's a hard job. And so I always want to start with people like, okay, where are you right now? What brought you here right now? All right, cool. What is your vision for yourself? And a lot of times, speed is something I caution against, right? Because you can become a doula in a weekend. Actually, you can become a doula at a birth, right? You can, you just happen to be there, and right now you're being that role of a doula. But I always caution people to say, okay, you need to look at your life, right? Look at your life right now. Can your life be sustained if you were gone for 36 hours? Can your life be sustained if you need to leave in 2 hours? Everything stops, and you need to go be with somebody for 36 hours. What does your life look like? Because birth work, babies come when they want to come, right? Pregnant people have needs that will call you out of a space. I had a client who, as a midwifery client, she hadn't felt her baby move in a little while, so she called me. I haven't felt my baby move, so we go through, kick counts, lay on her side, drink some juice, all these things, and then it's time to go to the hospital, right? So can your life handle that? If they have a partner and if they have kids, I need them to look at their care and support system. Well, actually, it's not just that they have a partner and kids, any kind of support system. If they're single, what is your support system? What is your support system? And I do say it about kids because a lot of times the kids part is routine and intense. If they're in childcare, who's taking the childcare, who's picking them up? You get called at 2:30 in the morning. Who's coming over? Who are you dropping them off with? Right? Those are kind of the basics. What does your support system look like? And then beyond just the basics of support system, what community are you already tapped into? How do you heal? Because birth work is emotional work. It is emotional labor most of the time. The physical labor can be intense. The emotional labor, that is big. And I think people who come to birth work are often caring people just in general. They are loving people in general. Like they have done some level of that kind of emotional labor within their own communities already. So you need another support system. You need a spiritual support system.
You do.
You need a love support system who can look at you and say, I don't think you should take that many births this month.
Yes.
I think
Absolutely.
last month was a lot, and you're trying to, be a backup for somebody else, and you got 4 clients on your own books. Maybe the month after, if you haven't booked anybody, you just leave it clear, right? That kind of support and that kind of love, because you will thrive for a while on the adrenaline and the oxytocin and the love of mom and baby and, and family, all just there. Like, ooh, it's such a drug, right? But there's always going to be a moment where your body breaks down,
Yep.
right? And you still have 6 clients coming up over the next 2 months. And one of the first things I saw was like I had limited dexterity in my hands after a couple of back-to-back births. Like trying to write was like, oh my God, this is a problem. So that support system, that your emotional support system, your spiritual support system, you need to have people in your corner that says, girl, I need you to sit down because you're not taking care of yourself. I need you to take a minute, or, go lay down. I got the house for right now. Or just go lay down. The house will be here when you wake up. Right? Just care for yourself. And a lot of times our families don't know what birth work is. They don't understand it. So even though you've been gone for 24 hours, you step back into the space and here are all the bills. All right, oh, right, and here the car payment, and here's all of this, and, we're out of groceries over here. And you still got to be that person that shows up for your family. So what can you do to mitigate that and to help your family, to help you as a community, but also have those people who see you who maybe not in your household. That's another reason I love this new community of doulas. They really do have each other.
Yeah.
They really do. They, I had a hard birth. I need somebody to debrief with. They have each other. I have been at this birth for 36 hours. My backup is out of town. I need someone to come in and spell me, right? They have each other.
That's amazing.
It really is. I can say that I had a lot of that community, but it wasn't as deep. It definitely wasn't as rich, and it definitely wasn't as Black as this community is. Because and I say that in truth, because cultural congruency is different than cultural competency, right? Being in community with people means that we can take shortcuts in language that other people, we have to sit down and talk it through for half an hour
in depth,
to be like, oof, the reason I'm feeling this fear, the reason I feel this scared, is because of this. Whereas, when I'm speaking to somebody who has had that same level of experience in communities, I can say, I'm scared to go to the hospital, right? I'm scared to have my baby in the hospital. And they can look at me and they can do more than just ask why.
They don't need to ask why.
Yeah.
They
right?
know.
Yeah, right? Well, why would you be scared of that?
Yeah.
Oh, why would you think that? Or it's just when I was pregnant with my last, I said, I hope she's a girl. Because I was so scared of raising a Black boy in America in this time. And a lot of friends be like, oh, that was some real truth right there. I'm like, I hope she's a girl. Because that fear was so real. She was born in 2014, my youngest. And then we had 2015 hit. Then we had boom, boom, boom. And when I say I hope she's a girl, because I'm scared of raising a Black boy in this culture, Black people knew what I was talking about, right? They understood that. And so having that cultural congruency, people who know you from your community, speak your language, or at least have had some level of shared experiences, means a lot. And it takes way less labor, always pun intended, always pun intended. It takes less labor to get get to understanding. It takes less labor to get to care, right? And I think that is cultivating care and cultivating systems of care is something that I've always been looking for. And in each iteration of my practice, I try to expand that a little bit more. In each iteration of my teaching, I try to expand that a little bit more. So when people come to me and they're new and they're green and they're like, I really love it, I want to get into it, start slow. Start slow. Yeah, take the training. Please take the training. But I'm going to need you to know more than massage techniques.
Yeah.
I need you to build a web of care for yourself. How are you physically taking care of yourself?
That is so important.
Yeah. How do you do that? Are you swimming? Are you walking? Are you running? Are you biking? Are you doing yoga? What are you doing for yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. I would have loved that. I would have loved those lessons when I jumped into the Vegas birth working community for sure. Because I didn't have that system of care in place for myself.
Most
when
don't.
I did. Yeah.
Most don't.
Yeah. But I loved that I was able to, when I recognized that it was time to hang it up for a bit, because we was tired and we weren't able to give to the capacity that these parents were deserving of, I had people that I could refer them to. That I had folks that I saw in the community that were doing this work, holding space from a place of openness and availability capacity.
Yeah.
That I didn't have.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Having someone to talk to and process with, that is so important. And having a physical outlet. And resting.
100. Yeah.
And resting.
That took years to learn.
My goodness.
Years to learn.
You are up. You can't sleep when you're on call. It doesn't matter if your phone is ringing or not. You are at the slightest vibration, at the slightest buzz sound, you're waking up because someone's having a baby.
Yeah.
Like it's
Let's go. It's go time. Let's go.
And during COVID is when I was most active.
Oh wow.
And they were only allowing one person into the hospitals at the time, and so a lot of folks were choosing their doula, or that's a lot of responsibility. And I'm the type of doula that's mind, body, spirit engagement. Like I'm giving everything that I have, but then not replenishing that energy on the other side of it after giving hours.
Yes.
Hours of hip squeezes,
Yes.
hours of hip shakes, everything. Support, emotional support, spiritual support, not giving that back to myself. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned that I feel like I can share with birth workers getting into this is like, it is a commitment of the mind, body, and spirit. Make sure you have support for yourself on all of those areas, every dimension.
And a lot of times we don't think of care work as spiritual work, right? And that also might just be kind of a systematic thing. Like the systems have changed care work into commodity, into a financial exchange.
Yes.
But there's no way to... There is energetic exchange always, right? And care work is an energetic exchange that... well, how am I trying to say this? The energetic exchange is not just the physical. It's not just like you thinking, or saying the right words at the same time, or saying nothing and just holding space in silent. There's this synchronicity, right? There's a synchronicity that happens and a somatic patterning that happens that when you come off of a birth, you are still in that pattern.
Yes.
You are still in that synchronization. And that journey that parent has gone through is still in your body.
It's in you.
It's still in your body. It's still all over you, right? And even just taking a time when you're back at your car to be like, yeah, I'm going to lean my seat back and just hang out here for a second. And before I go home to do all the things or go home to take a nap, I was never taught to rebalance, right? I was never taught to check back in with myself. I was never taught that I need to to create, I need to encapsulate that experience for myself, for my body, for my energy. And I need to re-pour me back into me
Yep.
so that this doesn't kind of stay with me and, grow on me in a way that it's not productive. So teaching new doulas that like your core, your whole, that is you, as soon as you step out of that room, like breathe in, take a second before you step into the room, stop, hold that core of you, right? And when you leave that birth, you need to check back in with you. This is all over you. Be it the joy, be it the difficulty, be it the fatigue, it's all over you.
Yeah.
You have to come back to you. Go lay down. Go take a shower. And even if it's an hour, right? Even if it's half an hour, you got to stop and recalibrate. You have to stop and really kind of center back into yourself, because again, that's that pouring back into you. But if we don't even do it for ourselves, and we just, get out the birth, go home, pack the lunch, rake the leaves, start making dinner, we're actually not showing our support system what we need.
Yep.
You have to teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And if we're not even treating ourselves with that level of respect, how are we going to cultivate a support system around us that knows, oh, yeah, you just got off of birth. Let me, your slippers are at the door, right?
Yep.
Your robe is right in the shower, right? I've got the eucalyptus hanging up in there for you already.
Yeah, take the cape off. We ain't douling
Yeah,
no more.
right.
We need to be douling.
Yeah, right. let receive the care.
Yep.
Right. But if we don't ever show ourselves, you need to receive care now. You need to receive care now. You need care as well. Doulas, take the cape off. So that's one way that healing journey, goes. But I also like to let doulas know that your practice is going to change. It's going to change dramatically after 6 months, after a year, after you figure out how you want to walk this walk, how you want to walk this journey, and be okay with shifting. Right? Be okay with being like, you know what? I think postpartum doula is my jam. You know what?
Mine.
Like being on call, that is crazy. Like I will call me when you have that baby. I know 24 hours, 48 hours out, we can start planning this, right? Or some folks are just like, I don't really care for the babies. That's not my thing. I'm going to do this prenatal. I'm going to do the birth. This is how I feed in. You have to, because a lot of times as doulas, we just want to do everything right away, have all the things in our tool belts. But your practice is going to change. You need to allow yourself to grow into this practice. You need to allow yourself to sit with the discomfort of, I really love herbs, but maybe I can pass that off to my other sister in community.
Yeah.
Right? Or I really like lactation. So call me when you are ready for the lactation piece. So be okay with your practice changing. But also, I know we want to serve. I know we want to help. You need 3 months out of the year where you don't take clients. 3 months. 3 months out of the year. Every quarter, you need to stop, to be off call. Because that, the phone beside the bed, every little jump, every little twitch, every little text, you never give yourself space if you are not off call.
Yeah.
You will never have enough capacity if you were never off call. Right? And I actually learned that going to a conference. We were in Portland or Seattle or something. There was a birth center there. And they had a group of midwives, and they were on call for 2 months, off 1 month, on call for 2 months, off for 1 month. And I'm like, that's my model. That's my model. And being able to give myself that space of not being on call allowed me to grow in other ways. Allowed me to to grow skill sets, to grow business, to understand business. And I'm still learning, still growing, right? But if you never give yourself space to learn, if you're constantly up, you're constantly waiting, the text is there, it's like so-and-so's due, and you have 3 clients in a month, and each client gets 2 weeks before and after their due date, you're just like, ready. Your nervous system is a mess.
A wreck.
It's a mess, right? And that being said, if you don't get yourself off call and give yourself the gift of space and time, you are not going to have the capacity to grow.
Yeah.
And, live a life for you. There were times when I was working in practice with another doula. One time we had 6 clients in 1 month. That was the most that I'd ever taken. And I hear people saying 6 is like a normal for an independent. Now, it can't be. Your nervous system is a mess, right? And there's going to be a part of your life, no matter what, there's balance is relative, right? Mm-hmm. When you have 6 clients in a month, where's the balance?
Right.
Where's the balance? Where's the balance for you? Where's the balance for your family? For
something suffering.
Something.
Somewhere.
Always.
Something is suffering.
So when we're talking about how you take clients, people are like, well, if I don't have a client, how am I eating this month? How am I doing? It's like, these are the things that we can figure out. Those are business decisions. Mm-hmm. And care and business decisions, they can go hand in hand, but you start with care for yourself, and then you build your business around the care that you need. Yeah, you have to take those breaks. And you also have to have grace for life, right? Mm-hmm. Your kid's going to get sick. Your dog is going to vomit all over your comforter, right? You're
really, really specific.
I know.
So specific.
I don't actually have a dog. Well, my daughter has a dog, but he's never vomited on my comforter. But this stuff happens, right? If you don't ever have space, you will never have capacity for the things that life is throwing at you.
Right.
And like you said, like a lot of doulas, we are in it for the people, right? Mm-hmm. We're in it to care for people. We're in it to wear that cape sometimes. Yeah. But sometimes the cape needs to be a blanket that you lay down to go out for a meal under a tree.
A convertible cape blanket. Yes. We're switching it to the front.
Right? It's like, sometimes it is just something that swaddles you, right? And it was really, you have to be able to have time and space.
Yeah.
If you don't, you will burn out.
You will.
It is only a matter of time. And the question is are you going to burn out or are you going to crash out? Because they're both coming.
Don't crash out.
Right? No. It is hard.
You don't want that.
Yeah. And then you end up burning bridges with people that have, really kind of supported you and shown a lot of love and grace for you in your past. Or you burn bridges with people in your family and they don't want to support you anymore on this journey. Because now you're crashing out because you didn't care for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you didn't hold space for yourself. So, yeah, I think that's what I tell new doulas. A lot of people are kind of put off by that because they want it, right?
No, but that's real.
They want it. Yeah, it is real. And I was like, well, you know what?
You have to tell them the real too. There's pros and cons to everything.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to take it slow.
Yeah.
Take it slow. And another thing that I think is very much part of my own healing journey is understanding how slow I need to take things, right? How much more measured I need to be. And part of that is aging, right? My body is not capable of doing the things that I did in my 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. But I am very much a thinker. I need to ponder. I need to sit. I need to kind of ruminate sometimes a little too long, but always I need a minute, right? And so when I'm thinking about things and when I need to take time and space, I need to walk it out. And a lot of times I just need to go for a walk and walk it out. I want to say, take more time. Take more time in this journey. Things are really fast paced right now. And I know all old people say that.
No, they are.
They're really
we
fast paced.
Speeding up.
So
day by day.
Slow down. Slow down. Sit with it for a minute. The first time you have a birth, please wait for your next birth. There was something that you needed to learn there. Mm-hmm. Did you go back through that birth? Did you really kind of deconstruct it? Did you think about all these different points? what did you learn, right? And there's spiritual learning, physical learning, emotional learning, academic learning. There's just human design learning.
Right.
Okay, maybe I need to be a person who only takes clients in the spring, because that's when I have that capacity. Maybe I'm a person who, can only be 12 hours at a birth. I need to have a partner so that after 12 hours, I can call my partner and say, here's this client.
Right.
You need to prepare for all of those things. But if you are just like, I got to get clients, I got to pay these bills, I got to do it, you're not going to, it's going to take you longer to get to the place where you're practicing in balance. Well, that's not the word I was looking for, but you're practicing
Alignment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're practicing in alignment for who you are and what you need.
Yeah.
'Cause
Don't let
sometimes
the
I can
hustle
forget.
drive you.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we trying. Everybody's hustling. Huh?
Right. There
Rest.
will always be babies to take. People will always be having babies. Do not let the money make you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So how can the people find you? You're a teacher and mentor. I didn't even name that in the beginning. So how can the people find you? Where can they go to receive your services and to just get you?
Okay. So on Instagram, I am at Jo Roses. So JOROSES. And I am at thebirthcollaborative.net as well. And I am on Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook. So if you're messaging me on Facebook, it might take me a week or two to remember to check messages and say, oh, right, I should probably look at that. But on Instagram, definitely, and through the website as well. That's how you can reach me.
Wonderful. And are you accepting trainees into your doula program?
Absolutely. So we have our next training that's happening, and this is our first fully virtual training. We've been doing a hybrid, a little in person, a little online, but now we're going to do our full in-person training. And this
Online.
is online. Yes. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Our fully online training starting in August, and the training. So the Birth Collaborative uses an integrative model. So the foundational training that we use actually is Uzazi Village because they have that reproductive justice foundation. And so we layer in other pieces, but the Uzazi Village, which is a state of Nevada foundational training. So if you want to be enrolled as a doula with the state of Nevada for Medicaid, you have to have a foundational training. So we use Uzazi Village.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so that's going to be fully online.
That wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, I know, right? I love it. And the reason that I'm so excited about this, our whole goal was to choose a hybrid model so that we could reach out to the community and touch on our folks who are not in cities where they can, easily tap into community. Just like the doulas are doing now. This is what we do now. We're reaching across the world to find community and finding it, living in it. And the Birth Collaborative has our first hybrid this fall, and we'll do another in-person training as well, which will still be a hybrid, but we do a lot of the skills and practice in person. And that is going to be in September. So those are all on the website, thebirthcollaborative.net.
Thank you, Jolena. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for
to
asking.
have this conversation, to be filled with so much wisdom, to learn more about your story.
Thanks.
I appreciate your openness and sharing. Y'all, thank you for listening and watching. Remember, healing starts when you stop pretending that you don't need it. Until next time, this is Healing in Progress. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.